All right, we are live. Welcome to Social Business Hour. And we are talking today, as we do every Monday at 4 p.m., using the hashtag SBizHour on the Twitters. And today we are talking Instagram. And I can tell you this much. We might be all using Instagram. We might be using it as a power user, or some of us might be using it a little bit. But today we're actually going to be talking about it. How do you use Instagram to grow your business, part of your business? And we're not talking to someone that just talks about it. We're talking to one that's done it more than once, and she rocks it. She also rocks this awesome fedora that she gave me. So before we get into introducing our guest, I, of course, have to introduce my co-host who's been with me every single Monday, and I actually finally met in person. So this is the first episode after we met in person. Rachel Miller, how are you today, Rachel?
I am awesome. Happy Monday, everyone. I am eager to learn more about Instagram. We were just talking off air that I have a private account, so I'm going to see if Miss Sue can kick me over to professional use. So I've got my notepad ready, but I hope everybody's out there as excited as I am.
Awesome. Well, I can tell you guys will be forewarned. I don't have to have my talk fast, tweet fast hat on today because you might not get two people that are more passionate, more talkative, more in your face than Sue and I. We spent a big amount of time together this past week. Been together for a bunch of different things. Have some exciting stuff coming in the near future, and my Instagram account is only awesome because I've already listened to her. So, Sue, welcome to Social Business Hour.
Hey, you know me. I am just so jazzed to be here. I knew you'd be periscoping, so I had to bring the heart sign with me. But for those of you that are celebrating summer, as I am in a big way here on Cape Cod, I had to also put my hashtag summer fun sign in there too. So
yes. You're the queen. I love your branding. You got a little Sue Bee. You have a bee over your shoulder. I actually have my iSocial Fans sign. I had to go out this morning and get like a Staples clip because I'm not at my house yet, so I can have it just hung behind me to show off your awesomeness. So Sue, give us a little background. I think this is what, business 18 for you. So give us a background for those of you if they don't know you yet. You already rock the Periscope. I love what you're doing there. You've owned the Instagram, but give people more of that background of all of your awesomeness.
Sure. So I've been a passionate entrepreneur ever since I was a little girl, 13 years old, and this is why I'm so passionate at mentoring young kids and teenagers and 20-year-olds to help them have success, because I wish I had a mentor when I was a little girl, and I didn't. So I started my first real business, I should say, right out of college. I have a degree in nutrition, which I never used. My job fell through, so I did what I loved, and at that particular time in my life, it was hand painting clothing. And I was hand painting boxer shorts, and the demand was huge, and Brian knows this story well, and I ended up just hand painting all night, waitressing during the day. I turned this little passion of mine into Boxer Rebellion, a $1 million business at the young age of 22 years old. And I really attribute a lot of my confidence and a lot of my success in business to those young formative years where I was able to really embrace the word passion wholeheartedly and follow it and make a living doing just that. And so fast forward, I got married. I had 3 kids. Mine are out of the house now. I have twins that are in college as freshmen. I have one that's graduated. So I want to share with all of you, I can be so in my element, in my game every day because I do not have the distraction of raising kids. And I always say kids first. And when my kids were little and I did have businesses, I had businesses that worked for my family. And I think that's really important to say here because so many people say, OMG, Sue, you're all over the friggin' map. One day you're in San Diego, now you're at the Cape, now you're at your store, and now you're on Periscope, and I'm able to do it in a big way, A, because my kids don't distract me, and B, because I have this rock star team. And so fast forward a little bit, I'll just tell you a couple more stories because there were 18 businesses, but I want to feature and highlight the ones that have shaped me to where I am today. I had a company called Treasure It. It was a double-sided tape. It was in the scrapbook industry, and this was about 8 years ago, and I was on QVC twice with this tape, rocking it out, selling it to the world, and at the time, I was teaching business owners that love scrapbooking how to embellish their photos. So literally using my double-sided tape, to add thread and beads and cabochons and bring those photos to life in a three-dimensional way. So it's really ironic and really exciting that I am now teaching the world how to use Instagram using third-party apps and the features right within the Instagram app itself to bring those photos to life. And my photos are literally my most prized possession, and so much of the energy that you see on all of my accounts with my personality in it is me, the real deal, and what I'm passionate about. And I think of Instagram, you know, as a digital scrapbook, and we can jump into some of these questions, but that digital scrapbooks allows all of you to get a better understanding of me and what values I hold near and dear. And if you look at the one on Subi Zimmerman today, I purposely put the fedora friends. I knew Brian was going to be rocking his fedora on this interview, and we are really close friends. I call him a very close friend because I've learned so much from Brian as Brian has learned from me, and we share this very mutual respect for how to help others in business. And I am so glad that I had the pleasure of meeting Rachel in San Diego too. So I feel like I'm like right here with two of my good friends and just, you know, sharing my passion with the world.
No, I love it. Yeah, I love it. And the Instagram, the hearts are coming in. The love is coming in on Periscope as well as on Twitter. I have the Twitter feed up as well. And you know, for me, I think something that really stood out to me when you're telling about your stories is you never said you were a marketer or you were a salesperson and any of those things. You talked about, you know, you have a design, you have a creativity, you have a passion, and I think that's so interesting because, I mean, you are the Instagram expert, and I will joke a lot of times that I'll say very few people will I say expert and I can say back it up and I will throw every ounce of every support their way, and you are one of the few. And I think part of that also comes in the fact is you weren't a marketer that tried to own a platform that was brand new. You were a designer, and this kind of it's such an awesome segue into what you're doing, the reason your passion shines through, the reason you rocked the stage at Social Media Day the other day. So I think that is like, you know, perfect into what we're talking about. So for those that are tuning in this, and I think Instagram to me, I've said it a lot, is one of my favorite platforms for engagement, because I don't think marketers can ruin it or have ruined it yet because there isn't a ton of link dropping and just checking a box. But we're going to throw out question one to the audience. I know Rachel will kind of pull in some other questions and throw out some of the other ones. But from Instagram, for someone that's maybe unfamiliar from the platform or maybe what its true value proposition is, can you kind of break down why not only your passion for it, but really what that value proposition is?
Sure. So I think of Instagram as a natural lead funnel, and I like what you said, Brian, where, you know, the marketers haven't gotten here yet to ruin it. You have to set yourself up for success on Instagram, and it starts with your bio. It starts with your avatar, and if you are the person behind your brand, I always say your avatar should be your smiling face and not your logo. So many industries, especially photographers, I'm gonna highlight photographers for 1 second because I see it as a reoccurring theme. They think they need to put their logo as their avatar. Now we're talking about something that is smaller than a dime, where every time you comment and engage on Instagram, that's what pops up. Well, guess what? I want to see you, the smiling face behind your brand, the person that makes that business thrive, and I want to engage with you because every time you comment, I see that. Just like on Periscope, you guys, I see that, and I get to know, like, and trust you so much more when I see your smiling face. So for starters, when you set yourself up for Instagram success, it starts with that bio, it starts with your avatar, and then let's take it a little bit further. You need to name your account, preferably with one that matches up to your Twitter account if you're active on Twitter. And if you're not active on Twitter, then that's okay, but it needs to align with your branding. And then you get to separately have a username within your bio that does not have to be the same thing as your username is. And so this is where the real SEO opportunity comes in, and this is what I talked about a little bit on stage in San Diego, is you can say that you're a designer, a graphic designer, a photographer right in your bio, but let's bump it up a notch. And I want to tell you all that emojis are now searchable on Instagram, and they're searchable in your bio. So put an emoji, your favorite emoji, in your bio. I use it for my store, Subidoo.Cape Cod. I have an anchor there, so if anybody searches people on Instagram with an anchor, I pop up. So you can gamify the searchability by letting people know what your industry is on Instagram. And a lot of people just simply put their name there. So you can leverage that. And then taking it a step further, you get 150 characters in your bio, and then you let people know what you do. Now, here's the deal. If you post a great photo, and I'm talking about great lighting, one that is cropped well, one that is captivating in some exciting way, maybe you used a third-party app, maybe you used Instagram, you're going to get eyeballs on your post. People are going to double tap it and like it. And if you've set yourself up for success and you've written a creative description like I did with the one on Zimmerman, hashtag Fedora Friends, makes you want to kind of read it a little bit more, then they are going to look at your bio and click that one URL that you have that takes people where you want them to go. So when you do that, you need to make sure you set yourself up for success, and that experience that you're taking them to is mobile friendly and is a great place. Because if you don't take them to a great place, you're going to lose them and they're not going to follow you.
No, I love that. It's so true. And I always talk about every digital action you take is a storytelling aspect of who you are. Come from your graphic. I love the way you talk about the profile, right? And the fact that emojis are searchable on Instagram just makes it awesome.
I know.
I think I use the fist bump and the thumbs up more than I do anything else. For not only, it's funny because I'll be typing something on my computer on Twitter, and I'll go,
yeah.
Oh, I want to use a cool emoji, and I'll delete it, grab my phone, and tweet something from my phone because I want to add a emoji. So I think that's interesting. So I know apparently we're having some technical difficulties on the YouTube link out there that people are sharing. It says standby. So we got Periscope going, so we're going to rock and roll with Periscope. Just means more people are going to have to find the Omni channel for right now. So Rachel, from a standpoint, I know from Rachel, you and I have talked about Instagram. We've talked about the importance of consistency, profile. What are your thoughts there on, I think Instagram, even, you've been in the social selling space for so long. Has Instagram been something that people have kind of looked at you yet, or is that something that, Rachel, that you haven't seen come in the space that maybe now we need to push that their way?
Yeah, I think some people are doing it well, but I know for me, and I know I've preached this a lot on our show, like you need to have a strategy and a goal behind it. So I know that's for me. It's like, well, I haven't worked out what my goal for Instagram would be yet. So I haven't gone there. And also I don't want to dilute my other efforts because, I'm almost everywhere. So I was like, oh, I'll just keep that for personal use for now. So I think people need to kind of circle back and like, well, don't just be everywhere because they, people are like, oh, Instagram's cool. Really work out what you're doing before you jump on. Because if you're just pushing, pictures of your cat, I don't know if that's going to have business value for you, but if you start promoting your content and really take it to the next level, then I think you'll see the success that you're hoping for.
Yeah, I like that you said that, Rachel. I always say that you have to have a strategy first and foremost and not just get on there because someone told you to get on Instagram. I would love to share with the audience that we have amazing success with our opt-ins. So for those of you that are trying to grow your email list, which is my number one goal in my business is to always grow my list, I want you to know that the strategy guide that we give out on the Instagram expert account, since January, we've received over 4,500 opt-ins from Instagram, which means we didn't pay for any of those email opt-ins. So when you set yourself up for success, and to Rachel's point, have a posting strategy that aligns with your business content, you can absolutely drive traffic to that one link and take them somewhere where they're going to want to take action so that you can grow your list.
So I'm sure a lot of people are like, well, yeah, I want to grow my business. So how do you coach your clients from, taking pictures of pizza and pasta to, okay, here's what you need to do to get attention from a professional standpoint?
So that's a great question. I think now that Instagram has updated the app on June 23rd, it was a big day for the SBZ team, where you can literally do market research. So for all of you out there that are struggling with your visual content and wanting to stand out from everyone else who does what you do, I challenge you to go into that explore button and really explore the 16 trending tags that change every single day. Okay, so now here's what I want to say to you. Look at those tags, see what they are. More importantly, look at the ones at the top. The 9 at the top are at the top because they have the most likes of any of the content with that hashtag. And so when you look at those 9 at the top, you start to see the value of those posts. Why is it that these posts are getting so many likes on them? Yes, some of them are celebrities and some of them are big brands, but there's people like you and me that can get to the top of a hashtag hub. That's what I like to call it. And if you go to SMDay, SD, you will see that Brian and I are at the top of that hashtag hub in one of the 9 posts. So I say to you, Instagram is a great place to do market research for visual content in the space that you serve, in those tags that align with your brand. So what are your tags? Well, you have to do a little homework to know what they are. And what are the tags that are going to attract your ideal client? This takes time and effort. They're not the tags like follow for follow, shout out for shout out. Those I say never ever use. Those attract spammers. We are not here to get followers. We are here to attract our ideal client that likes the content that we give so that they will want to be a part of our community. And that's how I teach Instagram.
No, I love it. I mean, that's so true. And I think Instagram is probably the best hashtag tool of all of them. And even though I'm someone that loves social listening on Twitter, and Twitter has been my platform, the Instagram, the hashtag, the raw elements of the hashtags on Instagram is powerful. And I love being able to stand out from the noise. I know you talk about having your own hashtag so you can own that and search it. You talk about, like, hey, if this is the most popular one, find one that's segmented down so you can actually stand out. And even something like Periscope, it's a funny one because the Suicide Girls, like they are owning Periscope and they get 80,000 likes for every one of their Instagram posts. So for me, it's like, well, I'm not competing with that. So where do I segment things down? And that new update from Instagram, if anyone hasn't gone on there yet, yes, that the fact I can type in the hashtag and it gives me similars with the amount of times it's used. I've been asking for that for Twitter for years and I could never get it. I mean, Instagram to me, just that little feature now became better. But I hear lots of people, I'm pulling in, so we have Periscope, and I just threw up Meerkat as well because I know some people like to be able to post to Twitter, so I added Meerkat there so people could comment in there as well. Just add the hashtag SBizHour. But one of the most popular questions I've seen coming through here is 2 accounts on Instagram, Sue. That's hard. How do you recommend people, or what's your advice for someone that says, do I really have to log in and log out every time on my phone for Instagram? What's your? I know you hear that a million times. You hear that more than I hear Periscope versus Meerkat. So what's your answer?
Yeah, so guess what, you guys? I have 6 accounts. I have 6. I'm going to show you my nails because they're pink and I like to show color. I have 6 Instagram accounts, and I have 6 accounts because they all serve a different purpose. On Instagram, you have success in the niche, in the laser-focused content. The riches are in the niches. I think we heard this at Social Media Day, Brian, right? Someone said that. I forget who. But I love that quote because, or maybe it was Chris Ducker when I talked with him, because when people are really clear on what content they're going to see when they land on your account, they are following you for a reason, and they want to come back for that same reason. I'm not saying show the same visual content, but show the same content, whether it's visual attached with the description. And there's so many ways to show visual content in the space that you serve. And so we did, for a little while, use a third-party app called Schedulegram, and then we found out that we probably shouldn't be using it. Now, what I want everyone to caution, I have to throw a caution to the wind right here, right now, Brian. There are so many third-party apps out there, and I have experienced some of them. Schedulegram was one of them. I don't use it anymore. And I actually tried Crowdfire for a while because people told me that was a really great app to gain followers authentically, but then I stopped using it after one day, and I'm so glad I did. Since then, I've had 3 people that messaged me in desperation that their account was gone, And I always ask them, what are you doing? What third-party app are you using? And they were using the Unfollow app, and they were using Crowdfire, and I'm sure they're okay, but they're not okay with some of Instagram's rules of engagement. And so people that are following and unfollowing a certain amount of people quickly, Instagram hates that. It makes you seem like you're a spammer, that you're a bot, and you can lose your account. So I am just the Instagram gal telling all of you that are trying to get followers and you want more followers and you hear about these third-party apps, I'm throwing caution to the wind there. But to answer your question with scheduling, the one app that I know as does my co-creator of Insta Academy, Jen Herman, we spoke with Latergram. Latergram actually complies with all of Instagram's rules of engagement and their API, and so that is a third party that I endorse using if you want to schedule your accounts. We, meaning the SBZ team, and yes, one of my accounts, come follow us, is SBZ team. I'd love to have you all come over. We do all of our posting in the moment. I know when I wake up, I know when I have my day, my brain can process visual and know what to share based on my followers. And I don't always get huge engagement, you guys. I get between 100 and 150 likes, but here's what I get. I get amazing comments from people like all of you that reinforce the content that I share. Would I like to get more likes like my 19-year-old daughter that gets 500 likes on a piece of avocado toast because she's fresh, fit, and fearless? Yeah, but I don't. And so I just know that people like the content I share, and my bar for success is 100 likes. Yours might be 5 or 10 or 20, and it will go up over time that you start to share great content. So yes, it's difficult to log in and out and have multiple accounts, but you get used to it, because here's the deal, you guys. When you start making money doing what you love and you get that positive reinforcement every day, you don't mind logging in and out.
That's so true. No, and you know what's funny about that? You know, Rachel and I were kidding. You know, we've been doing this show for a year and a half. We haven't dedicated 1 month to any platform. This show started as Social Selling Hour. It now has gone into Social Business Hour that we've been running, and we've never dedicated 1 month for one app. And Instagram's our first one. And it's interesting because I don't think anyone would have predicted that, but really the essence of what you're talking about, it spells out why I think Instagram is powerful, because you're not talking about building followers, you're about having targeted followers, you're talking about hashtags that are relative to your audience, you're talking about understanding what your likes mean. Comments and engagement matters way more than a lot of this other nonsense that exists on every other platform. We've heard it now, like likes on Facebook, you can get a Facebook farm, and you could use Crowdfire, and I've used Crowdfire as well, and and part of it really comes down to you have to put an effort. I remember, so this morning, in all transparency, yesterday I did a layout picture to advertise our show, and I made the picture and I said, well, I don't want to post this now, so I put a calendar notification for 9 a.m. this morning, and just silly popped up and said, promote SBiz Hour on Instagram. I had the picture already crafted. I had the note in Evernote, copy, paste, upload. It took me a minute and a half. So the fact that you have to show a little bit of effort there and have a little bit of strategy, I actually support that. I've also gone as far as using the mobile app to log into one account and then using the browser as a second account so I can like off of the other account. But I think that's something that I think a lot of people are hearing about. But this is great. Tons of hearts coming through, of course, on Periscope. Rachel, any questions coming in on for Twitter, or are we going to jump into question 3?
Let's jump to question 3.
All right, so with the new features added, we were just talking a little bit about the new features. I love the hashtag. I love the searchable emojis. But what is? And maybe this isn't even just the new features now, but maybe someone's used Instagram. They only, I remember I originally got on it because it was a very little bit of a lazy factor, and I said, wait a second, I can post one picture. It goes to Facebook. Back then, it actually embedded into Twitter. It wasn't posted as a link, and then it also did the Foursquare. But then I quickly realized that I was missing out on engagement, and I almost treated it like I treat Tumblr now, which no hate on Tumblr, but Tumblr is my one that's fallen off the engagement platform. But what can brands now understand? Maybe that's changed over the last 6 months on Instagram that really allows you to do a little bit more? I know you change the link that's in your profile based on what your posts are. I love that. That's a strategy I use almost on a weekly basis. But what are some of those features that brands really should be aware of on Instagram?
Yeah, so definitely that one, Brian. We do change out our link depending on if we're promoting a webinar, if we're partners with someone on a webinar. Our strategy guide, we switch up. Our course, Ready, Set, Graham, is up there. So we are able to track all that with a bit.ly link. So for those of you that don't know how to create a bit.ly link, come on over to YouTube. I've got you covered. Subscribe to my channel, and you can see that thumbnail post of how to create a custom bit.ly, because when you create a custom bit.ly, you can track your success, and that's what we all want to do. We want to track the success from Instagram to wherever we're sending them. So I really want you all to know that you've got to, you've got to see if you're going to be posting and you're going to be on Instagram for your business, you've got to look at those numbers. You mentioned the search button again, and I think it's worth going back to that, Brian, because there's so many aspects of this new update, not only with the tags, but with places and locations. And you can really use Instagram now a little bit like Yelp to search. So for example, you can search pizza, like I'm here on Cape Cod in Falmouth, Mass, and I want to go get some pizza. You can search pizza, and you can go into the location and find all the pizza shops in and around the area. And here's the cool thing. You can look at the pictures, see what people are saying, see what the environment's like, the ambiance. Is it noisy? Do they like their pizza? Like, people, whenever they post food on Instagram, they're talking about their food. So now you can use Instagram not only like for your business, etc., but you can really look and search it as a place where you might want to go explore, whether it's a restaurant or an event somewhere, just to see what people are saying about that place. So I like that feature a lot. And of course, because I do have a brick and mortar, I love that I can now be part of a location hashtag and be at the 9 at the top. And people did come into my store this past weekend and say to me that they saw me on Instagram from the hashtag Cape Cod, not my store Scooby-Doo, which is Scooby-Doo, but they saw it from Cape Cod because Cape Cod has more cachet. It's a bigger hashtag. It's a destination, especially for 4th of July weekend. So I was leveraging that location hashtag as a broad hashtag that Brian talked about earlier, like leveraging the big broad hashtags and then really getting very niche specific.
Yeah, I'm personally super excited about the location hashtags for employee advocacy. There's so many cool use cases. I've been annoying Brian with, like, why doesn't Snapchat do group stories? But now you can kind of do that with Instagram. So if you have a business, you can get your employees to use the same hashtag and build out a really cool story that has to do with your business. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, the SBZ team, we were like jumping up and down. In fact, I have to tell you all, if you go over to the SBZ team, there is literally a 15-second video of Rachel telling Morgan, do you know what this does for our business? This is a game changer. And you can watch that video. She's adorable in it. Everybody go watch it and leave a comment for Rachel. Tell her how cute she is.
You know what? And on that employee advocacy, Sue, I talked about you on a webinar recently, but your love for your team almost outshines your love for what you do, which is a true compliment. And I've now had the opportunity to work with your team a couple of times. I actually have Rachel quoted on a blog post that's coming out today. I think you have an awesome team that supports you. You have an awesome team for what you're doing. And what you just said there on the hashtags, I was using it. I was at fireworks. It was raining like hell. And I always would go to Twitter to find what people were posting, what hashtags. I went to Instagram on 4th of July, and I put proximity around me. I put the fireworks one in, and I wanted to see what hashtag people were using. Well, they happen to be using Warrenton Day Fireworks as the local one, and brands were engaging with them. And I was like, wow, this is Instagram, picture-to-picture engagement. It was a beautiful thing that I got to see unfold on July 4th, and I thought I was like, as soon as it was happening, I'm like, I gotta tell Sue this. So that's
yeah. Let's take a pause here, Brian, because I think what you just said is really, really important for everyone to hear. That brands are engaging with you. So just like you want to engage with your brand, with your followers, brands are actually finding you and coming over to you. And case in point, here on Cape Cod, a lot of Cape Cod newspapers and businesses have found me and started following me because they see that I'm using the hashtag Cape Cod.
I love it. I love it. That's if anything I've learned from Rachel more than anything, Rachel is the queen at social listening. That's really where, but it's listening. It's also listening at the right places, the right time. Proximity is a big one. I know we talk about that a lot. So I'm curious. I get lots of comments. I actually see your team's engaging on Periscope as well. So I see Rachel out there. Thank you for all those that are watching on Periscope and Meerkat and jumping in there. A couple people are asking from a standpoint of brands that are doing it really well. What are they doing to stand out? What brands? I talk about it. My favorite one. It's my favorite brand in all social media. Is Dunkin' Donuts, and I almost had to unfollow their Instagram account because when I would scroll by it, they always do an amazing job of like compelling me to go want and buy it. I drive by Starbucks to go get Instagram to go get Dunkin' Donuts because of how good their Instagram was, and I think that brand to me. Maybe I'm not always craving a iced coffee, but they make sure I'm pretty darn close to it. So a couple people were asking for what brands that are doing more than just, I would say, posting, are doing a little bit of engagement and driving comments. Is there any that jumps out of you? It was a question that I saw come across Periscope.
Yeah, I love that you have that question. So Dunkin' Donuts is amazing, and they were on my brand panel at Social Media Marketing World 2014, and Jessica is phenomenal. She manages their social. I love that it's all about user-generated content. And so let me share another account that does that really well, Brian, that you also met, Dan, who spoke at Social Media Day, only in SF, only in San Francisco. Dan is so excited because now he can go into that hashtag #AlwaysSF. That's their unique hashtag, and he can find a photo that he wants to feature on their account much faster than he used to. He's like, Sue, this is a game changer for me. I used to spend 45 minutes looking for the perfect photo to share on only in SF, and now it takes some minutes to look at those top 9. So if your business is into user-generated content, meaning content that other people are posting on your behalf with your unique hashtag, this is a great way to look and find them in the Explore tool. So only in San Fran, I guess I would have to say my favorite big brand, and Brian, you probably have no idea who this is the Dry Bar. The Dry Bar is where I go to get my hair blown out before I do speaking interviews and get on camera. There's not one here on the Cape. There's definitely one in New York. I've been a couple times. But I love the Dry Bar because they know exactly what their target market wants to see on Instagram. So here's what they want to see. They love quotes. They love dogs. They love fashion. You'll see some of the color yellow, which is their brand color, but when you see it, it's like a yellow bench or a yellow rose or yellow lips. They are so good at celebrating everything that their clients stand for, and then they sprinkle in some really great hairstyles and some great videos, and they crush it on Instagram in my mind. Another big account that a lot of you are familiar with that I think does a great job is the Celtics, the Boston Celtics. For you sports fans out there, I like how they celebrate the fans and the players, and they do so much of it in real time. And I think that that's really exciting to see.
No, I love that. There are some good sports teams there. Like the Pittsburgh Penguins, a hockey team that I love. They do an infographic in between every period of the hockey game live, and it gives you stats that aren't normally shared on TV or shared on social media. And they use it on Instagram, and it's such a great capturing one. I had a couple people ask this, and I don't know the answer, so I have to. I love the Repost app. Is that an app that you recommend, or is that one you? I mean, I know I love that app, but is there another one, or is that the one you recommend?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for reposting my picture from the Instagram expert over to Social Biz. That was smart.
That was my team. That's Rachel and Kristen Cardos. Shout out to Kristen Cardos out there.
Oh, that's all Kristen.
Them.
She's our Instagram whiz.
Yeah. So here's what I want to say to all the listeners. There are third-party apps that are all free where you can repost content, and it makes it really easy. What I like about the apps is that it gives the name of the user, and it also gives their avatar, so it's really giving a nice shout-out to the content creator. However, I know that those repost apps can make a photo look a little cheesy sometimes, especially if it's a great photo. So what I do and what I suggest all of you do is to put the hashtag repost in your description with the name of the account that you got it from, so that you give credit. You always, always give credit to the content creator. Exclamation mark. You never screenshot a photo, and you never make off as if it's your own. You always give a shout out, and that's quite frankly a great way to get more followers. And let me give you an example of what I did. I really want to talk you guys through this because I think this will help all of you. So on the Instagram expert account, I did exactly what Dan Rosenbaum was talking about. I featured one of his photos, and you guys can see it's a gorgeous photo of this. Of the bridge in San Francisco. Okay, so the gorgeous bridge in San Francisco, and using the hashtag always in San Fran, I added that using one of my favorite apps called Fonto, and I made sure to give a shout out to Dan, who manages the account only in San Fran, and I also thanked the photographer who actually took this photo. And what I want you to know is that he only has 191 followers. He's relatively new on Instagram, and he's so talented as a photographer. And I love helping people that are doing great content just get noticed and seen. And so he's absolutely one of these people. And he went back in, because I always tell people, go over and say, I came over from @SueBZimmerman @the Instagram expert, because I want him to know how this traffic is coming to him. And he came back to me on that account and thanked me for sharing his photo. And that's the power of connecting to people in a way that lifts us all higher. Because when you give a shout out to someone else, they come back and they follow you, and they might tag some of their friends to get their eyes on your post. And it's all in the spirit of growing your followers organically.
No, I love it. And you know, there isn't a retweet button, which is kind of refreshing because you almost have to you have to not only want to promote people, but I saw a couple of people in there. Vintuitive had actually asked a question about the ethics of sharing and some of your best practices. I think there's probably some more questions on the legal side of what's posted, if Instagram owns it or what on those things, but I don't want to get into that too deep. But one of the things that I think that is rather important there, that what you're talking about, is not only connecting, but letting people know that you're sharing it. I almost feel I have more respect for someone that's sharing it and saying, this was so good by someone else, this person, here's the picture. Because, I mean, let's face it, we're not all everywhere. I can't take amazing pictures in San Francisco. I don't live there. Why would I want to take credit for something like that? And I think that's this whole element of organic and real and raw. I also heard a couple of people that are bringing up about the repost app being one that, you know, it is nice that it auto watermarks on there, right? You know, it almost it prevents, you know, we can't stop stupid, but we can slightly put some parameters into it where it does book something.
Well, I knew that if I used the watermark on the Golden Gate Bridge, it would ruin the aesthetics of that fabulous photo, and I didn't want to do that. So I added always SFs in a subtle way to hit home with this point of user-generated content, and how do you get it? How do you get you have to tell people to use your hashtag if you want to get content around your hashtag. And so only in San Fran does such a good job at that, as does Dunkin' Donuts that you mentioned.
Rach, do we have one? I think there's a couple questions coming in from Twitter side, or is that we're going to jump into question 5 and then bring in the questions?
I was going to jump into question 4.
Before, sorry, see, you keep me online. Organize my chaos.
So I think the audience is getting a lot of great tips for how to grow their followers organically, which is very important to me. But I think, and I know I have seen a couple questions go through, like a lot of people are like, well, how do I make money? So I'm getting followers, I'm doing what you're telling me, but how do I start making money without going to the hard sell?
Where's the easy button? Come on, Sue.
The easy button, yeah.
Yeah, so this goes back to what we said at the beginning of this interview, is that you can build the like, know, and trust factor, and I know Brian is so big in this area as I am. People really see the real me on Instagram, and when they meet me in person, I am that high-energy, fun person that you see on Instagram, and that transcends in everything that we do in our company in a way that people trust me. And so when we start selling something like my Ready, Set, Gram course that did friggin' amazing, not only on Instagram, but also on Periscope, we didn't even do a webinar. We launched the course on Periscope with one email. people are ready to buy because they really trust me, because they know that I teach Instagram from a heartfelt place, that my goal is to help all of you make more money doing what you love. Separately from teaching Instagram and having courses, and we have our Get Your Hashtag On ebook and other revenue streams, I coach people in their business. I'm booked solid with my coaching clients right now, but I do strategy sessions for people, and people want to work with me. Every day I probably get at least 1 or 2 direct messages or texts from people wanting to hire me to help them with a breakthrough. And they want to hire me because they see who I am on Periscope and they see who I am on Instagram, and it's very consistent.
You know, I think that's why I need to add to my, if you suck offline, you're going to suck online. But if you're amazing offline, you're going to be amazing online when you embrace things like Instagram and Periscope. Because I think it's funny, too, because I had a couple of people ask me, like, how is Sue crushing it on Periscope so quickly? And I was like, Sue's amazing online. You give her a phone and let her do the same thing on that camera. That's how it works. I think you're right. And it's also like that on Instagram. And I think you do a great job. Can you just kind of touch, because this is something that I was studying from you, is you talked about, you know, building the trust, but you do a hell of a good job of putting CTA, you know, call to actions embedded in your post, in your elements. You talk about them even sometimes in the picture or in the Canva. I'm representing a little Canva love today.
Yeah.
So talk about that call to action element, because I think that is really a game, because you do it in that jab, 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 right hook way. That is awesome.
Yeah, we both love Gary Vaynerchuk. However, you have an Instagram picture with him, and I don't. So what's up with that? Everybody on right now, just friggin' tweet Gary Vaynerchuk that @Zimmerman, the Instagram expert, wants to meet him. Okay, that's all I want for all of you. That is my call to action right now. Go. I'm sure Rachel's cracking up on Periscope. So call to action. You need to be subtle with your call to actions, okay? And I don't recommend doing it in every single post. Some people do. I think it turns people off, and it makes people feel like, gosh, they're so goddamn salesy and pushy. You know, I can definitely be pushy, but in a very East Coast fun way. It's kind of my persona, but it's always with fun-loving attitude. I have to say that. So with the call to action, here's something I want to share with all of you, and this is something I've discovered over time. The people that comment on your Instagram post are the ones that really are your top engagers. Those are the ones to pay attention to. And if you want to start like I did at the very beginning, I kept a spreadsheet, and I wrote down people's names, and I kept track of who they were, and I knew that those were my, I want to call them buzz agents. I want to call them tribe members or big fans, and they were the ones that came back. And so when they comment on something that I'm doing, and if I go back and I ask them, I'll swipe to the right, I'll ask them, I'll respond to them, and I'll say, at Brian Fanzo or at iSocialFans, will you please tag 3 of your friends so that their eyes get on this post? I feel so comfortable asking people to tag people because I would do it for them. And it's those tagging eyeballs that get more people on my post so that they opt into my strategy guide. They get on my email list so that I can have a conversation with them every single week. Now, some weeks we're just giving out value. We're taking you to our new YouTube video. Maybe it's a new slide share. Maybe we're telling you where I'm going to travel next and speak. But occasionally we are selling products. So back to this jab, 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 right hook. We know when to back off because we've been pitching a product or we've been partnering with an affiliate and we don't want to seem salesy. We always want to give you value. And so if you lead with value, when it comes time to ask for the money or to try to get people to take action, they will take action because they believe in you and they trust you.
Well, you know, I think part of the reason we also, Rachel and I decided, you know, with Instagram being on here is all this advice you're giving transcends a platform, right? I mean, you and I talked about this past week when we were talking with Amy as well. Like, all of this is the true essence of social selling. I know, Rachel, you jump in on that too, because I think this is what you're saying there. It kind of gets us excited because this is what works on Instagram because it works everywhere else, but people really suck at doing what you're saying everywhere else, right, Rachel? Rachel, I know you have jumped in.
No, that's what I was going to jump in because I really appreciate that you're saying make the ask. because I think people are often really scared. And at the end of the day, you don't get what you want unless you ask for it. So, I mean, don't ask right away or over and over, but there are times when you need to step up and ask for it to, get the results that you want. And I think, yeah, it does transcend all platforms. That's a great tip for social. Once you build rapport, make the ask, because people ask you to do things all the day. So you
Yeah,
kind
and
of flip it and take control.
Yeah, Rachel, and I think, a lot of people don't have the confidence to ask. So there's a whole confidence issue around like, oh, should I really ask? I feel like that's too pushy. That's not me. I am so comfortable asking because I know that I would give in a reciprocal way to people who give me value. And so I know who to I don't just know what to ask. I know who to ask.
And how to make the ask. You do an amazing job at how to
Yeah,
make the
how
ask.
cannot be overstated.
Yeah.
Because you can say the same thing the worst way.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
No, yeah, you rock it. And I have to admit, for me, I love how you were talking about tracking your success, because one of my success stories was Meerkat. So Meerkat, I was at South by Southwest. My account blew up, and so many people were like, well, you were on the leaderboard. That must be how it happened. And I actually went back to him and was like, well, actually, an Instagram post that I made promoting my landing page on Meerkat was what did it. And everyone was like, what? How did you do that? And I simply created a Canva graphic with the Meerkat logo and my picture, and then in the byline I had a bit.ly link that landed to my Meerkat landing page. And I can tell you, it was something like 4,000 clicks. I don't even have 4,000 followers on Instagram, but because people were searching the Meerkat hashtag or the South by Southwest hashtag, I was amazed how many people clicked through from Instagram, started following me on Meerkat, and that blows people's mind, because it's like, wait, the live streaming app that was FOMO about offline engagement, you drove more engagement via online on an Instagram app. And I mean, a big shout out to that part of, those that are doing great things on Periscope, those that are doing great things on Meerkat. Part of this is that authentic engagement. It's also bridging your community. So I know before we get into the next question on that really over asset, talk about bridging your communities. I think we all do. I think the three of us do that really well, but I think it's something that is probably underestimated from a brand's perspective.
I love that you're asking about that, because I think it's so important for people to understand how to bridge communities and not make things so difficult and more work for yourself. So I know that when I'm going to get on a Periscope that's going to be phenomenal, like the one I did this morning with Tiffany, and for those of you that were on that Periscope, thank you for being there. She is a rock star. I did a strategy session with Tiffany Montgomery yesterday, and I'm like, I've got to share you to my Periscope world. So a lot of the ways that I do my Periscopes teaching Instagram is highlighting other people. I don't want the spotlight to be on me all the time. I want it to be on other people who are having success on Instagram or who are just starting their journey and can give value to my community. So I do these Periscopes, and I have the camera on her, and it's a Skype Periscope, and Tiffany was rocking her greatness and really broadcasting her journey, which is so impressive. And we had over 100 people on very quickly, Brian, and we lost the broadcast twice, and people still all got back on the third time. They wanted to hear this story. But what I did intentionally was I posted in my Facebook group that I was going to be going live. I sent out a tweet, and I sometimes also post on, in fact, I posted on Instagram, and it's that picture with you and I and Geneva, who I know is on listening. Big shout out to our Fedora friend, Geneva. I said, I'm going live with my client, Tiffany Montgomery, at 10:45 EST, so stay tuned. We're talking all about business transformation. So here's an example of me taking a great photo, and Tiffany isn't even in the picture. And I knew it was a great photo, because Brian and I and Geneva had a shit ton of fun, and we've got the hearts going on, and I know that people's eyes would like that photo. So I decided to use that as an opportunity to announce that I was going to go live on Periscope and to tune in. So for all of you out there that just jump on and start your Periscope broadcast, I challenge you to post on Instagram that you're going to be doing it with a good photo, or to at least tweet it beforehand, or post something in your Facebook group. Back to Brian's comment about cross-platforms. And you'll have more success on your Periscope broadcast when you do that.
And I think that